Danny Dupree is currently a woman standing on the absolute edge of a psychological cliff, and watching her spiral is both fascinating and agonizing. Right now, Danny simply cannot bear to be left alone for even a single second. Why? Because the moment she is left to her own devices, the deafening silence of her own mind forces her to confront the horrific betrayal she committed against her husband, Andre Richardson. She is suffocating under the immense weight of her own guilt, pacing the floors, jumping at shadows, and acting like a woman who expects the sky to fall on her at any given moment. Every time she looks into Andre's loving, devoted eyes, she is violently reminded of the fact that she gave herself to her toxic ex-husband, Bill Hamilton, in that dark, stuffy elevator while a tornado ravaged their town. Her son-in-law, Jacob Hawthorne, seems to understand Danny on a very fundamental level. He recently agreed with Andre, noting that Danny has never been the kind of woman who feels comfortable being alone, even under the absolute best of circumstances. Jacob's observation is spot on, but it also provides the perfect cover for Danny's current erratic behavior. Because Jacob and Andre have rationalized her restlessness as a quirk of her personality mixed with severe post-traumatic stress from the tornado, Andre doesn't suspect anything else. He is completely, tragically oblivious. Andre genuinely believes that his wife is just suffering from severe anxiety after surviving a natural disaster. He is treating her with kid gloves, wrapping her in love and patience, which ironically is making Danny feel like an absolute monster. The dramatic irony here is thick enough to cut with a knife, and it is driving me crazy. So this makes me wonder, what if the tornado hadn't injured Andre? Let's really think about this for a second. If Andre hadn't been pinned down and injured during the storm, would Danny be agonizing and tormenting herself to this extreme degree? Right now, Danny is being eaten alive by the fact that while Andre was physically hurt, bleeding, and terrified, his only thought was trying to find her and make sure she was safe. Meanwhile, she was doing the most terrible, unforgivable thing imaginable with the very man who has caused their family so much pain. The contrast between Andre's selfless devotion and Danny's impulsive betrayal is the exact source of her current torment. But imagine the alternate scenario. If Andre hadn't been injured, he would have been on his feet, actively searching the country club for his wife the second the winds died down. If he hadn't been hurt, there is a very high probability that Danny wouldn't have been able to lie to him for this long. Because if Andre was up and walking around, he likely would have been standing right in the lobby when those elevator doors finally pried open. He would have seen Danny and Bill stepping out of that confined space together. The awkward body language, the flushed faces, the disheveled clothes. Andre is a smart man. That uncomfortable sight alone would have instantly sparked a firestorm of suspicion and relentless questioning. In a twisted way, Andre's physical injury is the only thing that bought Danny the time to cover up her tracks and spin her web of lies. But that borrowed time is acting like a slow-acting poison on her soul. I have to take a moment here to express my sheer, unfiltered frustration with the writers of Beyond the Gates. Up until this point, I have been rooting for Danny. I wanted her to find her happily ever after with Andre. But right now, I cannot for the life of me understand why the writers decided to push Danny into this cheating storyline. They have essentially assassinated her character growth, making me think that Danny is honestly no different from Bill. For years, she was the victim of Bill's narcissistic, manipulative, and unfaithful behavior. She was tormented by the terrible things he did to her. So why on earth would she allow herself to be dragged back into his toxic orbit? I genuinely thought that Danny would know better. I thought she would have the strength to stay far away and maintain strict, impenetrable boundaries with the husband who caused her so much trauma and completely ruined her youth. How could she cause such a massive, life-altering disaster in just a few impulsive minutes of weakness? Was it the fear of the storm? The adrenaline of thinking they were going to die? Even if it was panic sex, it is completely inexcusable. She has a wonderful, devoted man waiting for her at home, and she threw it all away for a fleeting moment of nostalgic toxicity in a broken elevator. It makes me so angry because it undermines everything she fought to build with Andre. My theory is that when the truth finally explodes, and let's be real, in Fairmont Crest, Secrets of this magnitude never, ever stay buried. Andre is going to be completely and utterly destroyed. This isn't just a physical betrayal. It is a profound emotional stabbing. If he finds out the truth, thousands of agonizing questions will swarm his mind. How could Andre possibly stay calm when that devastating reality is exposed? He won't be able to. But the worst part is how I think he will react internally. Andre is a deeply good, introspective man. Instead of just raging at Danny, he is going to doubt himself. He will inevitably wonder if he did something wrong to push her away. He will ask himself what he was lacking that made Danny suddenly so drawn back to her abusive, terrible ex-husband. He might actually start to believe that his pure, genuine love simply wasn't enough to keep Danny away from Bill's dark gravity. And when that happens, when Danny has to sit there and watch the love of her life blame himself for her disgusting mistake, she will be tormented even more. Watching Andre take the blame for her sins will be the ultimate crushing punishment for Danny. I am already dreading the sheer heartbreak of those futures. Because Danny is currently being pushed to the absolute limit of her emotional endurance, she knows she cannot take it anymore. If she just sits alone in her house with her thoughts, she is going to completely lose her mind. So this week, she finally breaks. She seeks out the one person she can truly rely on, her best friend, Pamela Curtis. Pamela is the kind of true friend who has stood by Danny through her darkest, most difficult. Danny desperately needs to vent, to purge this toxic secret from her system before it eats a hole through her heart. Pamela is going to be absolutely shocked to her core when Danny breaks down and confesses that she made love to Bill in that cramped elevator while the tornado tore through their town. I can just picture the look of sheer horror and disbelief on Pamela's face. She knows exactly how much Bill destroyed Danny in the past. But that's not all. Pamela's reaction is going to be the catalyst for what happens next. Will this intense, tear-filled conversation with Pamela finally give Danny the courage or the overwhelming guilt to go home and confess everything to Andre? What kind of advice will Pamela actually give? Will she act as the devil on Danny's shoulder, much like Vanessa did, telling her to take this dirty secret to the grave to protect her marriage? Or will Pamela be the voice of morality, warning Danny that the longer she hides this, the worse the fallout will be when Andre inevitably finds out? At the very least, Danny will probably feel a temporary sense of relief just by saying the words out loud. But a shared secret is still a ticking time bomb. Let's add another massive layer of chaos to this already volatile situation. Right now, Bill Hamilton has collapsed and is fighting for his life in the hospital, completely baffling the doctors who have no idea Haley has been slowly poisoning him. If Bill is hovering near death, Danny's emotional state is going to become even more unmanageable. Will her lingering feelings and guilt over Bill's critical condition push her to make a tearful bedside confession? What if Andre walks into the hospital room right at that exact moment and overhears her crying about their elevator hook? The dramatic possibilities are endless, and the tension is so thick it is suffocating. Furthermore, Danny is also holding on to the terrifying secret of Naomi's BRCA diagnosis and her own refusal to seek preventative care. She is a pressure cooker of lies, guilt, and fear right now. The writers have painted her into a corner where every single exit leads to absolute destruction. I am on the edge of my seat waiting to see how Pamela handles this explosive confession and how long Andre will remain in the dark. Will it be Haley who exposes them out of sheer spite? Will Bill wake up and use the affair to blackmail Danny? Or will Danny's own conscience finally force her to destroy her own life? Whatever happens, the fallout is going to be legendary, and I cannot wait to analyze every single agonizing second of it